You say, well, I'm stuck out all by myself. Nobody even knows. I don't have a chance. Beloved, God's mailing list is up to date. He can find you. God's prophets, or God's Spirit is a better way even to say it. God can find you no matter if you're stuck in a basement far away, forgotten by everybody. The eyes of the Lord are searching the earth for people that would have a loyal heart. Okay, let's go top of page 3. Let's go to the second city. Now, the thing about the David story, which is the same with our story, all of us, the seasons, when the city, well, in this story, when the city changes, the season changes. Now, that's not always true with us, but this part is true with us. That the seasons change suddenly. I mean, they change without a minute's notice. David thinks he's in the Bethlehem for the rest of his life. Suddenly, the things change, and he's in a new season in God. And it's the Gibeah season. Say Gibeah. I want you to learn this city. Gibeah. Now, Gibeah was the capital city where the king lived. It was the king's court. Gibeah in that day was like our Washington, D.C. today. It's where the king and his cabinet lived. It's where the head of the army lived. Now, what happens is David's now about 17 or 18. Again, we don't know. And a crisis comes to Israel. We know the story. But do we really understand the story? The Goliath crisis. Now we know David kills Goliath. Everybody knows the story. But it was a national crisis of the greatest intensity that you can imagine. Because if Goliath and the Philistines won, they would kill the men, enslave the women and the children, and burn the villages. This is not a small thing. That happened a number of times in Israel's history, where the enemy came in and burned the cities, raped the women, and enslaved them, and took all the children as slaves for life. This was a national crisis, and the army was terrified. And Saul, the king, the head of the army and the head of the government, he is terrified because the Philistines have more power. David happens to go to the battle. He goes to the battle as a mail carrier, as an errand boy. Dad back in Bethlehem says, hey, Davy, take some bread and cheese to your brothers at the battle. They don't even let David be a part of the battle. He said, David, stay with the sheep. So David loads up the food, and he goes to the battle, and he gives it to his brothers, and they pat him on the head and said, get on home, kid. But then David hears Goliath. And Goliath stands up and says, who will challenge me, the great Goliath? I will defy the God of Israel. And David said, that bugs me. And David's bigger brother, Eliab, said, David, go home. He goes, no, that bothers me. He goes, David, he actually told him, so he rebuked him. He goes, go home with your insolent or your arrogant little heart and get back home and take care of the sheep. He goes, I'm not going to. He goes, what that man said to the God of Israel, I know God. This isn't right. So David goes to the king, because I'm a little errand boy, I get it. I'm not trained, nothing. I'm taking him on. They said, what? And Saul was so terrified, he let a non-soldier boy with no equipment take him on. That's how terrified Saul was. You know the story. David kills Goliath. But the part you may not get, David is a national hero. He is on the front cover of every magazine. He is on the front of every newscast. He is the main guy everywhere. 18 years old. Talking about a sudden change. He went from an errand boy, sheep guy, lawn mowing business with a push lawnmower. I don't mean a real business. A real business is different. I'm talking about a little boy with, going house to house still. Suddenly, he's a national hero. His dad's like, David, what happened yesterday? Dad, I don't know. I swung that slingshot and it hit the guy, and I knew it was going to happen. and everybody's kind of excited. I don't know. You know, I'll go back and take care of the sheep and tell me what to do about all this. Well, paragraph C, 1 Samuel 18, the king says, hey, kid, I need you to move into the White House. You're a national hero. I want you to live next to me. Talking about a sudden change. Now, what God is going to do with David in Bethlehem is God is going to test David and see if he's faithful to God with small things. Will David be faithful to God in Bethlehem with no audience, with nobody applauding him, while he's rejected? Will he be a servant? And will he connect with God when he just seems forgotten by everybody and nobody cares and people are actually against him? Yes, he proved faithful. But in Gibeah, it's a different lesson. How will David respond in early promotion, or let's call it this, early popularity? He has success that comes suddenly in one day, and he is the most popular man. He's a teenager in the whole nation. Not just his high school, the whole nation. So it's an extreme situation. What does he do with early popularity? Early meaning, in context to his 70-year life, at age 18 or 19, what does he do with popularity so young? Now, what David probably didn't know, God was testing him. See, I've seen people get a little bit of popularity in their teen years or their early 20s, and they think this is what their life is about, and they don't even know it's a test. God's testing to see if they will stay connected to God with a little bit of popularity. And I have found in 30 years of ministry, most believers with a little popularity, they lose their connect with God because they get so busy managing their popularity. And they don't realize 10, 20 years later, it's all gone, and they look back, and it was a test. And they got caught up into it, and they thought it was all about them, and the Lord was seeing if they would stay faithful to the Lord with some sudden popularity. But here's the thing about popularity. It's always temporary. It's always temporary. Whether in your high school, whether you are in the White House and you're the president, your popularity is temporary. Whether you're in Hollywood, whether you're in the NBA, no matter what, your popularity is temporary no matter what part of life you're involved in. But most people get consumed with their early popularity. I've seen in just our short 10 years of IHOP, a few guys and gals get a little bit popular on the stage, whether preaching or singing or whatever. And some of them, it doesn't faze them. They are going hard after God. And others, it tilts them, and they get so busy managing their new popularity, they don't have time to connect with God no more. But a few years always comes and goes, and that season passed, and they didn't even know it was a test. David was being tested in Gibeah. And I have the chapters related to the Gibeah years. He's about 18 to 22 years old, approximately. Look what happens. 1 Samuel 18, verse 5. King Saul set David over the men of war. David was accepted in the sight of all the people. I mean, everybody liked David, but this is a temporary thing. It never lasts. It might last for a year or two. You think, wow. Now look at this, talking about heady wine. Verse 6. The women came out from all of the cities, the young girls, singing. King Saul's on his way back from the battle, the head of the army, the president, with all of his entourage. And all the girls are coming they're throwing flowers and singing and dancing, and they're going, Saul has slain his thousands. That's pretty good. For a king to kill thousands at war, that's really good. I mean, most guys don't kill thousands in battle. Saul smiled about, well, that's a little exaggerated. I didn't really kill thousands, but thank you, ladies. Thank you, ladies. I'm sure that I'm going to one day. But Saul had not heard the second verse of the song. And they said, young 18-year-old David has killed his 10,000s. He is 10 times more anointed than you. And it says in verse 8, Saul became very angry.